با سلام، شایان هستم از گروه بلک متال ترایوکس و مجری پادکست ابلیس منیفستیشنز. در این قسمت مصاحبه ای داشتیم با اریک اندرسون که گیتاریست و آهنگساز گروه سوئدی مفوراش هستش و یک صحبت خیلی جالبی بود و اینکه اریک و مخصوصا خواننده‌شون چه تجربه با خانواده داشتن و سختی‌هایی که خیلی وقتا اینا توی کودکی چه تو نوجوانی از اون محیط خانواده تجربه کردن و اینکه امروز مخصوصا توی آلبوم آخرشون چطوری این رو در موزیک خودشون پیاده میکنن. اگه دوست داشتین که این مکالمه رو ببینین، الان در کانال یوتیوب پرشین راکستار با زیرنویس فارسی آماده هستش. امیدوارم لذت ببرین. مرسی.
Struggle that I've had through all my life, as well as the life of the vocalist in the band. We met when we were 11 years old in school, and since that moment we were best friends. And we both had a very rough and terrible upbringing, with a lot of struggle, a lot of pain, a lot of abuse in our lives from the people around us, and we never had any safety and never any sanctuary in our lives, and we basically were two lost souls up until the point that we met each other, and we found each other in that suffering somehow, and we knew that we had to find some external way of finding sanctuary and peace, and something to fill that void and emptiness within us. So we naturally just gravitated towards art and music after we met each other as an outlet for all of these things. And since then, it's always been like our common goal, our common pillar of where we put our suffering and our efforts, and it's always been our way of finding sanctuary within the music, to search for some purpose beyond this material plane, to search for the meaning beyond other people, which of course always have been a struggle for us, because we've always been betrayed and always been hurt by the people that were supposed to do the opposite of that to us. So we've always felt disconnected from that standard way that people think that family is the meaning of life, and that's why you're here. To family that word had a horrible connotation to it, it was just connected to abuse for us. So we naturally tried to search for other realms rather than this material plane and this physical plane, where we could find peace, find sanctuary, and find something to fill that void that we had. So going from that point, from all that suffering, to us meeting, and then to this point where we're now on stage with the choir, and all of our struggle and suffering that we have gone through led up to that absolute perfect moment of artistic endeavor, all this struggle and all that we did with this album, to actually rather than just talking about spiritual terms and themes, we went into our personal journey. We went back to our childhood and tried to take all those things that happened to us and kind of used it as a therapy through the album, to release it through different ceremonies and rituals that we built in the album. And then when we got to perform that together, the whole album from start to finish, with the choir, the same choir that we recorded on the album, and we got to release all those energies that we built during our whole lives, basically up to this point. It was definitely the closest thing I could describe as a spiritual experience, because it really took all those fucking emotions, all those traumas and everything, and concentrated it and just released it as a complete ritual out into the ether, I guess.
Yeah, that's very powerful, man. I mean, I completely respect that kind of transformation.
Yeah, and it felt like we weren't individuals anymore, like on stage. It felt like everyone came together as a unit, like melting into each other's artistry, melting into like the vibrations from what we created on stage, just like melted together as a single source of energy somehow. And that's always the goal as a musician, somehow, to perform your art not as an individual but more as a vessel, like you are all working for the same purpose, and to like release that energy as one unit. That's always the goal of a musician, at least for us it is, but I guess that somehow be the goal of every musician in my eyes. Like when you're performing together with your brothers and the ones you create all this with, you want to just be vessel of pure artistry somehow, and I felt that we reached that goal more than we ever did on this particular.
Right. So you think that this is the album that you guys have expressed yourself the best. And I mean, like from what you're saying, there's so much that I am picking up from this. And this is from a multitude of perspectives here, really. I mean, if you would be comfortable, I mean, are you able to share some of those particular struggles that at least you had yourself personally?
Yeah, I guess. Well, for starters, like a very mentally ill mother, and the absence of a father figure as well for me. I never had any contact with my biological father. And then I had a person that came as my father, but that wasn't my biological father, and he passed away in a pretty horrible car accident around the time right before I met the vocalist of Mephorash. Right before I met him, he passed away in a terrible car accident, and losing that only safe person that I had, which was my that person, and then having my mother, who was always mentally ill, alcoholic, and being alone with her, and of course her trauma from him being gone as well, like that was pretty terrible. And she had a very hard time raising me as a son. She more treated me like, okay, now you're man of the house, now you have to take care of everything. And she never gave me the love and support that a mother should. It was always more like we struggled together to bring food on the table, and that was it. There wasn't a mother and son relationship. It was like two people fighting to put food on the table and to survive like the terrible economical situation that we had. And like all of this created such an emptiness and a loneliness in my life, and also some sort of feeling that fuck everyone, I will do everything myself. I don't need anyone. I don't need my mother, because she only hurts me. She only like always disappointed me with her behavior, and when I needed her, she was either drunk or crazy in some other way, and that like made me just feel like I don't need anyone in my life. I will just take all my problems and I will solve them myself, because I can't depend on anyone. But I will only be let down. And on the positive side, that made me a very productive person. Like I can take a lot. Like I can juggle a lot of things at the same time. Like for example, with the band, like I'm always the one doing all these. What should you call it? Like all the boring things of being a musician, like doing all the bookings and the emails and the web store and the packing of all the merchandise, like planning and all of that stuff I do myself. And it's been easy for me compared to how others would feel, I guess. because I'm always used to doing everything myself. I had no one to depend on. I had no one to help me with anything. So I always had to fight for myself. And the positive side of that is that I've become very driven and goal oriented, and I'm never feeling like I'm entitled to anything. Like I know that if I want something, it always takes struggle. So I guess that's the positive outcome of it. But it's also left me with like a terrible emotional like absence and emptiness that I tried to fulfill with many different other ways, especially with music and art and all of that. So and I think that this album actually really helped me with all this depression and anxiety that I always had through my whole life. Like for me, it's been such a normal thing to have this depression and anxiety that I haven't really even realized how bad it was maybe until now. Like, because it's been my everyday. Like I've had to struggle with this every day, and so you kind of get used to that feeling. And I try to like direct it in the artistic sense, like to get an outlet for all of that anxiety all the time. And I think that it made the music better, but it made my life pretty hard. So
I appreciate
I guess
that,
you
man.
have to take it for what it is.
Yes, I completely appreciate that, and I thank you for being so candid and honest and openly talking about that. I'm sure some others will probably appreciate just hearing that, whether they're a musician themselves or not. I don't think that's as relevant. I think that, when you go through certain things in life, there's going to be those things that they leave a lasting impact on you, and like you said, there are certain toxic things perhaps that you're exposed to them for such a long time that you don't even know what it's like not to have them, and it's only that when those certain things are gone that you realize, oh shit, so this was not normal, and I actually I fully understand that. But I think that you said that, maybe it made the music better. What I would go even further is to say that it made the music honest. So to the point that even if you're the only person on the planet who actually enjoys the music, that's okay, because it's your own honest expression and basically your own therapy and your own exercise of the pains. One thing that I always say is, because I reflect on myself personally on this part, and this is something that I realized years down the line, is that when you perform this particular type of music, especially where it is so cathartic, it is so powerful, and it is so transformational, you will find that eventually down the line, it's kind of like the whole reason that you were doing it is almost because you were just getting to know yourself more than anything. And I feel like, when you get to explore those dark depths, because the point of it is like an external expression, right? But it all starts internally, and it's only through the internal decluttering, if you will, that you get to know yourself, you get to know where some of these things, these pains, the traumas, but also the strong points all come from. And then, you get to channel it all through the music. And every time you do it, you only get better at it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it really does. And that's a lot how I view it as well. It's really, it's very much like a personal journey and a personal exploration. And I think that spirituality in itself is kind of that way. Like that's how I view my spirituality, at least, that it's an exploration of who you are to understand like everything else better as well. Like it's like, to understand that there is anything beyond this, you have to understand like what's in the depth of your soul and what's in the depth of your consciousness. Like, and I feel that the more you understand your own consciousness, the more you can understand what's beyond your consciousness as well. Kind of like, as above, so below, like that word, as within, so without. It really works like that for me. And the same with art and music, like the exploration of the within makes the music that I make without a lot more detailed and perfected. And the more you dare to face your hardships and your traumas and the things that you don't want to know about yourself, the more giving that journey is. Like if you actually face the fears you have and like the things you don't want to realize about yourself, like it's not only about exploring the good parts about yourself, because like you have to understand the darkness to see the light, I think.